This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Decomposing body of 25-year-old man found hanging in Portmore. A 25-year-old man is suspected to have committed suicide at his home in Garveymead, Portmore, St. Catherine. The decomposing body of Sunil McKeitron was found hanging inside his house early Tuesday evening. Relatives discovered the body when they went to look for McKeitron after not seeing him since last Thursday. Police are investigating. Portland teens charged with shoplifting and larceny. 2 teenagers were charged in connection with a break-in at a shop on Francis Avenue in Buff Bay, Portland on Sunday. 18-year-old Gabari Hunter of Thompson Avenue in Buff Bay and a 16-year-old boy whose name is being withheld were charged with shoplifting and larceny. Police reports are that a worker went to the location about 7:30 p.m. and discovered that locks on the door had been removed. She subsequently made an alarm. The culprits, who were still inside the shop, tried to escape. Hunter was, however, caught and handed over to the police. The 16-year-old boy was arrested the following day and charged along with Hunter. The teenagers will appear in the Buff Bay Parish Court on Wednesday. JPS warns that customers will suffer because of the OUR's suspension of Transformer Protection Program. The Jamaica Public Service says it fears customers will see more frequent and much longer power outages because of the suspension of the company's Transformer Protection Program by the Office of the Utilities Regulation. JPS said it had initiated a transformer protection pilot project to protect its equipment from huge unpredictable overload and premature failure due to recurring equipment failure and spiraling replacement cost. There have been at least 110 premature transformer failures due to such loads between January 2020 and August 2021 at a replacement cost of more than $25 million. We are shocked that the OUR would frustrate our efforts to protect our equipment and manage outages faced by our customers due to unauthorized overload, said the company's president and CEO. He was responding to the OUR's cease and desist order, which requires JPS to suspend its transformer protection program for a period of 90 days until further investigations are carried out by the OUR. This ruling will make it so much more difficult for us to provide reliable service to customers in some communities because of the recurring damage to equipment caused by overload. We anticipate that the OUR, after its promised investigations, will return a more balanced decision which supports the company's right to protect its investment, he pointed out. It is unfair that this equipment failure replacement cost is borne by JPS and its paying customers. Good customers will face long outages while we dispatch our teams to replace equipment which will invariably be destroyed again. JPS has an obligation to protect the safety and reliability of supply for our equipment. The OUR's directive will have very dramatic and unfortunate consequences for children who need to study, for people who have to work from home, and for businesses. We urge the OUR and the government of Jamaica to focus on the real issues that cause these frequent equipment failures and power outages. JPS remains committed to continuing to play its part in support of these efforts, the JPS CEO said. Police probing major human trafficking ring in western Jamaica. The police high command has ordered a high-level probe into the abduction and rape of more than a dozen women in what is believed to be a major human trafficking ring. Investigators are focusing their attention on western Jamaica. The news has been informed that over a one-year period, a number of women were abducted after responding to job offers online. Several of them were raped. The prime suspect was arrested in western Jamaica a few weeks ago. He has been linked to several counts of abduction and rape and is expected to be charged in the coming days. It's alleged that the victims, who live in several parishes including St. James, Westmoreland, St. Catherine, St. Mary, Manchester and Trelawney, met the suspect online. He reportedly lured them to western Jamaica after promising them jobs in the hotel industry. Investigators cracked the case in February after receiving reports of the scam. Investigators have so far identified almost a dozen victims. However, they are concerned that there could be other victims who they have not located. Investigators from Area 1, Area 5, and Area 3 headquarters, along with the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch and the Criminal Investigation Branch, are involved in the probe. Jacure further remanded after appearing in Amsterdam court. Reggae artist Jacure was detained for a further 7 days on Tuesday when he appeared in a court in Amsterdam, Netherlands, on charges including attempted murder and aggravated assault. The entertainer was arrested on October 1. Jacure allegedly used a knife to stab his concert promoter in the stomach. The artist, born in Secretary Alcock, celebrated his 43rd birthday behind bars on October 11. Mobay religious leaders still in custody as some congregants facing DRMA charges released. The majority of the 40 congregants from Pathways International Kingdom Restoration Ministry of Montego Bay St. James, who were detained following Sunday's deadly incident, have been released after being charged under the Disaster Risk Management Act. The 30 women and the 10 men, including the leader of the church, were charged for being out on a no-movement day. The pastor of the church is among 10 people still in custody. The news was informed that the service pistol of a female member of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, who reportedly opened fire on the police when they swarmed the compound on Sunday night, was seized for ballistic testing. Investigators are still collecting statements to determine the persons who should be charged with the killing of 2 congregants as part of a ritual. In a news update on Tuesday afternoon, Assistant Commissioner Clifford Chambers, head of Area 1 Police Headquarters, said the congregants are cooperating with investigators and have provided statements.
The investigators have done a number of statements to include caution statements from the persons who are involved. 9 males still remain in custody. All except 1 female has been out granted bail. 30 adults, on about 30, were charged for breach of the Disaster Risk Management Act. The investigation continues where he is concerned. He is being investigated for other offenses outside of the RMA. We're just waiting on investigators to put the case file in a more cogent way before we speak to the charges that he will be faced with.
Dennis Brooks, a senior communications strategist for the Jamaica Constabulary Force, has said, based on information received, the radicalization of the leaders of the Pathways International Religious Group occurred in the last few months.
By all indications of what persons have been saying, the church has not always been this way. And as a result, the organization, has a strong membership in St. James. There have been things that have been said in recent weeks. There have been in recent months. Has been made possibly a shift in the church's doctrine or such, and it has been a cause for concern. It wasn't any matter that was reported to the police, and Sunday night it came to a horrific end.
Mr. Brooks would not confirm claims that a ritual was linked to the COVID-19 vaccine. However, he said he suspected that might have been an issue for the leadership. Mr. Brooks disclosed that 144 congregants were summoned to the church from as early as Friday in preparation for a special service on Sunday based on end-of-time teachings. He said that the public should hear over the next few days the activities that were taking place at the church as part of a ritual preparation for the departure of an ark. The ark reference is similar to the one built by Noah in the Bible, in which he saved his family and the 2 of every kind of animal from a flood. Attire should not be hindrance to education, said Morgan. Following a number of incidents where schools have denied the students access to classes as a result of what they described as inappropriate attire, among other issues, State Minister in the Ministry of Education, Robert Nestor Morgan, is cautioning schools to be reasonable in their judgment. Recently, Samoya Farquharson, a student of Taki Hill High School, was barred from entering online classes because she was not wearing the uniform as the school requires. While the principal at the institution, Howard Basco, said he was unaware of the matter when it first came to light, he revealed that school authorities have had to take a stance for official school attire as parents and students have in the past flouted those rules. The matter of appropriate school outfit has sparked national debate as news of the localized policy guideline at various schools became known. Parents of a 5-year-old child who was denied admission into Kensington Primary School because of the school's no dreadlocks policy are now appealing the court's ruling made last year, in which it found that the school had not breached the child's constitutional rights. I believe, and the ministry believes, in discipline and students must be attired appropriately for school, but there is a problem, and it's the definition of the word appropriate, said Morgan. As the questions of socio-cultural evolution of the society, post-colonial ethos, and whether the system should ascribe to the Eurocentric approach to grooming continue to rise, Morgan said it is stirring a pot of conflict in the education system. Some parents have gone outside of the reasonable frame of expectation, and I would also suggest to you that some administrators have gone outside of the expectation of what is a reasonable and a just approach to grooming. The junior minister, who was speaking at the virtual 29th annual conference of the Association of Principals and Vice Principals on Sunday, believes that some of these issues could have been avoided if the government had a more definitive stance on the matter. We now have the document dress code policy that was finalized and I think ready for cabinet to make a decision on what is Jamaica's national grooming policy. Your hair should not be a determinant of your access to education. Morgan said that even with a grooming policy, there will still be instances where students may fall out of line, but administrators will need to exercise good judgment. The skill of the administrators will be called upon. There has to be a balance, the need for order, respect for the school environment, and their recognition that even though this child is breaking the rules, their quest for education is paramount. Morgan, who shared his own experience of witnessing students being sanctioned and locked out in high school, said drastic action can often be counterproductive. We cannot be puritanical in our approaches. We have a responsibility as people who recognize the damage that a disconnection from the education system can cause a child, and that the school is the only protective space that exists for some young people in Jamaica in many situations. We have to find a way. He added, fundamentally, I don't believe that attire should be a hindrance to access to education, even though I believe we must follow the rules. We have to think about what we are doing and how we apply rules and how we balance justice while maintaining integrity. While some administrators were of the view that students should not be blighted, they were firm in their belief that some rules ought not to be bent. Morgan maintained that there can be no broad brushing of the issue, but a case-by-case approach with a sound judgment is what will make the difference. As parents continue to complain about their children being sidelined because of their own inability to pay fees imposed by the institutions, the state minister is once again asking administrators to be reasonable. He said that though the government has increased the allocations to school following the abolition of auxiliary fees, he understands that economic realities cause funding to be insufficient. I have letters in my possession from schools that are blocking students from engaging because they refuse to pay or are unable to pay the voluntary fees. The ministry has a dilemma. We know the schools need resources, but we also know that a lot of our parents can't afford it. He added, we are all suffering. It is difficult to increase a budget without revenue. A lot of businesses have closed, but we have not sent home one teacher or civil servant because we can't afford to pay them. The state minister is appealing to administrators to be mindful of parents' inability to pay and to keep in mind the government's policy that there should be no hindrance to access at the point of access. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.